You said you were terrified of freestyling, but when I watch your videos, I'm like, there's absolutely no way you were terrified of freestyling.
I was absolutely terrified when I was training with the crew. If there was any part of our show that needed freestyling, I would be backing myself out. I wanted to be told exactly what, how to improve. It's been a really cool journey to come to this point where I know that I can call myself a dancer now because you can put me on the spot and I'll be fine.
Susana Lay resides in Melbourne, Australia, and is a dentist and a professional dancer who has an interest in architecture, drawing, and improving with family. We talk about so many great topics in this episode, including the importance of playfulness as an adult and incorporating that in our everyday life, and how growing as dancers and finding that playfulness within dance has brought out this sense of childlike wonder and glimmer that we have been experiencing ourselves as adults. And we talk about how that has been so impactful in our lives. We talk about so many other great topics, so we'll go ahead and just get to it. Thank you so much for everyone who is here. I'm so excited for you all to listen to this episode today. So without further ado, please enjoy. In your Instagram bio, it says dancer, movement expresser, chaser of glimmers. Can you explain to us what it means to you to be a chaser of glimmers?
So a glimmer is opposite to a trigger. It's something that makes you have awe and wonder in your body, or in just within you. And I think that tapping into that is like a natural tapping into yourself, like really, really seeing yourself and knowing yourself. So I want to, with dance, I find it easy to tap into, but I feel like that's like my goal as a human. And to just share that everyone will have something in their life that is like this, to just explore and be curious and tap into it, and not feel that it's defined by anything other than just what we like, how we feel when we have these glimmers, and learning more and more how we can connect to those glimmers. So that's what I'm chasing for myself, and it really puts me back into a space of I can, the world is okay, and um, I'm fueling myself for more connection and more glimmer, I suppose. So I think if we don't rehearse doing that and chasing something that really sparks the joy in us, then we won't know it. So just wanting to chase it and wanting to find something that gives us that natural motivation, that natural effortless drive. Yeah.
Absolutely. I agree. And I'm
Yeah.
I'm like really excited for this conversation. I feel like we're going to go in such a great direction, but I do want to take it back to the beginning. So part of this podcast, I selfishly want to be able to get to know so many people that I've danced with. I feel like in class, you get to know people, but not on like a deeper level of like, who are they really? How did they get here? Why do they dance? So there's many reasons why I started this, but one of it was because I'm curious, like, who are these people really? Like I know their Instagram and I see them in class, but like I want to know more to who they are. So I want to know, like, take us back to the beginning of how and when you began dancing.
Mm. I have had movement in my life for a long for since childhood. So my first encounter with movement was actually because I was a very heavy asthmatic as a child. I couldn't walk to school, which was literally 100 meters from our home. My mum had to piggyback me, which is carry me up the hill to go to school. So as I had a lot of trouble physically with breathing, and so mum was wanting to get me into exercise, and so she started with dance classes, calisthenics. I'm not sure if it's something in the US, but it was something in that was a part of school. So it was very easy for me to get to. My mum didn't drive, so I had to walk to these classes. And that's how I started movement. I was probably 7 or 8 years old. And from that, I discovered that it helped me physically. Like my strength and stamina got better. My asthma was managed, and it was because I needed to practice moving and working and having a bit of exercise and cardio in my life. So that's my first, very, very first sort of dabble with just learning that body movement's important. From there, I ventured and tried gymnastics, which is a bit more physical, a bit more technical. And it was only by accident. It was a school holiday program, and it was a very, very small recreational gym club. So nothing fancy, but I grew to enjoy the athletic side of things. And by this time, my asthma had completely resolved. Maybe that would have happened naturally, but I think actually exercise helped. And I got actually very serious in gymnastics very, very quickly as well. So 9, 10 years of age, I started gymnastics and was elected to train at the state level, and then elected to be in the squad for the 1996 Atlanta Olympics. So it happened really quickly. So in my body, I had an awareness of repetition being something that helped me to learn. So that's how I just felt is the way my body wants to pick up things. And so I feel like my movement today is it's very different from gymnastics, but it comes from that mindset that the more I practice, the more that I'll be able to tap into what it's supposed to look like in my mind. So that was from 10 years old to about 15 years old. It was a short career because I actually academics was important to me. So I remember in my high school years, my parents were, you do need to focus on school. So after my gymnastics career ended, I felt like that meant I should just stop movement. And
Yeah.
that was something I didn't think about why I was doing it. It was just sort of a pathway that I wanted to take. And so I stopped movement until university, when I thought, hang on a second, this is my life. And I really, really love dancing. So I enrolled in a few classes, and I'd never taken class until, my 20s. So I started taking class. This is when I could drive myself now and pay for my own dance experience. And I went to a local studio that had hip hop, I suppose, or choreo. This is back in the early thousands, so it was still very new in Melbourne, in Australia, and I loved it. I loved the learning of choreography. I loved the being in sync with others around me. I joined a crew. My crew members are some of my bestest buddies right now. We've grown together. We all got married at the same time. We have kids together. We still see each other in our day-to-day lives. So they're very important to me in my dance. What I would call the start of my dance journey, choreography. Yeah. And then, of course, you do all the crew stuff, and the comps we entered, the late night rehearsals. It's something that I hold so dear to me, because it shaped me as a person too. But then when we started to become more senior in our movement years, I suppose, and started to have families, and our bodies are changing, and our values and our priorities in our lives changed, that slowed down. But I do remember making a physical decision to say, we had competed, and we were celebrating that post competition feeling, and I said to my crew, "Hey guys, I'm out. That was my last one, because I'm gonna try to start a family, and actually I'm ovulating right now." So that was
So it's
my
the time.
decision. This is the time, and hung up my shoes and just thought, now it's time to be an adult and start my own family and pour into my family and my kids, but just like tick this off as something I did as my childhood, and I felt that I accepted that too. I accepted it. I was okay. That's just how it is. I just don't dance anymore. That was in the past, and I didn't feel the permission to call myself a dancer anymore, because I don't do it. I'm not
Yeah.
actively in it.
Right.
I love it. I still followed it. Social media was coming out, so you could start to see all the YouTube clips, all the what you couldn't see before unless it was in video clips started to come out, and I was just like,
Mhm.
I could watch it for hours.
Was this like 2017? Like, do you remember the time frame?
Earlier it would have been 2011, 20, yeah, so it would have
Okay.
been from when my daughter was born, 2012, till about,
Okay.
yeah, 2019.
It's so funny hearing from other people because obviously your life experience is so different from mine, but there's so much overlap. It's just so fascinating to hear your story and be like, wow, like mine's not the same. I like, didn't stop because I wanted to start a family or anything, but the similarities of stopping and thinking, I'm done. I can't,
Mm.
I'm not a dancer. And then seeing videos on YouTube. That's why I was like, was it 2017? Because it was 2017 for me.
Yeah.
And then getting back in a dance. But so I want to take it back a little bit. So
Hmm.
that was so fascinating what you said about having asthma and how
Mm.
dance and gymnastics helped you out of that because I
Mm.
I also had asthma growing up as a kid and it was very problematic. I had like the breathing treatments and it was very hard for me to breathe at many moments and I don't know if dance made it worse or made it better,
Yeah,
but
okay.
I love hearing that though because now as an adult I don't really have the symptoms that I used to,
Symptoms. Yeah.
but just movement in general, I feel like is just so healthy for the body and we can get, especially if you're not dancing, just like as a person living your life, I feel like it's so easy to get caught up in your job, in school, and whatever it is that you're doing and forget to take time
Move.
to, yeah, move your body, whether it's just walking or,
That's
dancing,
it.
whatever it is. So I love hearing that.
Strengthening up. That's, yes. I actually hadn't thought when you said take it right back. I'm like, wow, that's actually not something I thought of for myself. And movement wasn't part of me until I could actually be comfortable moving. So it had to start from somewhere. I think normally people might think asthma and swimming. I don't do swimming. I don't enjoy it. But
Hmm.
the fact that mum enrolled me into something that was a bit more possible and more organic, and then it just went from there, and the symptoms haven't come back, and I feel it totally had the effect of helping me with my stamina, and just helping me understand that movement is so important, and that's why it's become just part of what I do for my health generally, but
Hmm.
I love the expression through it too. So had it been something like athletics um, or swimming, I'm not sure that that expression and artistry could have as easily be tapped into. So I'm very grateful that she happened to just run across, yeah, a local club and made it dance. Yeah,
Yeah. Do you know
yeah.
why she chose dance or she just kind of came across it and thought it'd be a good idea?
My mum didn't drive at the time, so by foot is the only way that we could have learnt about anything. And these were the days where there's no advertising unless you have flyers or you walk across the shop and
Hmm.
you look through the window and you see what it is. So it just happened that on this day she heard music come out of the school hall, and she poked her head in and saw other little dancers too. Like we would have been, 7, 8, 9, quite young. And
Yeah.
she brought me along because it was close by to home, and that's how it started.
And it worked out.
Um, yes, yes, and yeah, I feel very grateful for a moment like that to have happened, to have dance come so far into my life now. Otherwise, it could have been just deal with asthma medically, like by medicating, by managing the symptoms. I'm not sure how else, by time, and
Right.
without that movement, I would have not understood my body as much, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, it's really crazy to think about because, as adults or people, we just get caught up in what our day to day is. But I think as a dancer, and especially as someone who has returned to dance, I often think about how lucky I was to have started out when I did and that literally, I mean, I didn't put myself in dance, like my mom put me in dance, so I have to be thankful for her and my parents for allowing me to do that
Yes,
because that was a decision that she made and I don't know who I would be without dance. It's really hard
that's
to
right.
imagine. So
Isn't it?
it's cool to be able to hear like how a decision your parent made at a young age made such an influence on you throughout
Oh,
your whole life.
absolutely. Absolutely. And I hope to do the same for my kids too, and which is just uh, model and represent and show them the representation of dance in the people around them. Like, let them see that it's actually normalized to have people move, to have people express, to have all these different ways that dance can become a part of your life and sustain it for, like, not just your teen years, but
Mm-hmm.
into your adulthood. Even as a parent, even I look at people in their 60s and I'm just in awe. That's my ultimate goal, is that
Yep.
when you and I are in our 60s and 70s, Priscilla, we still have this conversation still makes sense to us.
A
You
hundred
know that,
percent.
yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I want. That's the
Me too.
glimmer that, like, yeah.
Me too.
Yeah.
So it's funny because sometimes I'll take intro to ballet classes, or maybe like beginner ballet classes because that's what's offered in my area. And occasionally I'll see, somebody older. And every time I see that individual, usually it's a different person each time, but I'm like, I hope that's me. That better be
Mm-hmm.
me when I'm
Mm-hmm.
60, 70, whatever. And if it's not me, I'm going to be so sad. But
Yeah.
like that just better be my life, Like I don't know what
Yeah.
else is going to be happening in my life, but I better be taking a weekly ballet class.
Mm-hmm. That's right. And yeah, I hope that it's just normalized. I hope it's normalized.
I think
It's so
so.
possible. Yeah.
Yeah,
You meet yourself at your level too, and it's not like that you need to take your 20-year-old abilities and physicality into your, no, you have so much more to give with the experience and the life experience and the wisdom that you've grown through this time, to have your dance as a more mature person come through in a different way that's actually the honest way, the real way of you. Now I can be much more patient with myself because of that.
I
Yeah.
agree. And I think for me too, it's so funny looking back because when I was younger, I would be like, well, I'm not a good dancer if I can't do, the turns and the leaps and the, whatever, the
Mm-hmm.
technical stuff. Um, and now, even though I still value that because I love technique, it's just like
Yes,
always
and
going to be a
merit.
part of
Yes.
me,
I
which I
get
feel
that
like you
too.
can probably relate to with
I
your gymnastics.
totally get that too. Yes.
So I love that. I love technique, but at the same time, I'm like, when I'm in a ballet class, to me it doesn't matter if I'm getting it all perfectly. Like for me, I mean specifically ballet, it's very therapeutic. It's like my yoga, and I it's just like the feeling you get like at the bar. It's like so calming. And I know that that's me. I don't know what it's like for everyone else.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like as we get older, like the value you see in dance is different than how you saw it when you were younger. So going back to your kids, I wanted to talk about this because I have enjoyed so much watching your kids I would say enjoy dance, enjoy movement, but also just being playful and being themselves through your different posts that you've had online over the years. And it's literally been so beautiful to watch. And I think I messaged you a few years ago just saying, like, if I ever have kids, the relationship that you have, well, with them, but also how you introduce dance to them is like how I would want to introduce dance to my kids, just like giving them the opportunity to move and enjoy, and that you don't necessarily have to be in a studio. You can be outside and moving to what feels right. So, what made you decide that you wanted to instill that in your kids?
I think this one is, firstly, the not being in a studio and being at home and doing it at home. That that really it helps with the sustaining of making dance part of your life. Like, I think I mentioned to you once too that I really want to make dance become part of my life, it become my lifestyle, rather than fit it in by having to go to a studio. And if I was waiting for that, it probably just would always be too hard. I don't have
Mhm.
time. There's cost involved. There's just that extra hardness and effort to make it something easy. So dancing at home, dancing when we're out, just moving and showing you don't need to identify only as a dancer in a studio. I think that was more for me. So with kids, they're very simple. They just, that kids want to play with you. So if you're building a connection, when you're they ask to play with you, that's them saying, spend time with me, do the things that I like. And I noticed that, as parents, we give that a lot. But when I'm dancing and they're dancing with me, that's my way of saying, play with me. And so we understand that these are the things that we enjoy, so it expresses what we like, and also it's how we show love as well. So I feel like by letting them know who their parents are, what their parents are outside of just being a mum, being a care provider, being someone that goes to work, whatever work is. No, your mum, your dad has a personality, and I think that's how they play with me, and I play with them with the way that they like to be played. My daughter just shared with me she loves baking, and so that's her way of saying dance with me. And when they dance with me, that's my way that we're playing with each other. So I see it in that point of view, was that they're not. I'm not asking them to see dance because I like it. I'm just asking them to play with me. And when I put it in that narrative, that they're often actually very, if they're feeling up for it, they're like, yeah, mum's playing, so I'm going to play with her. This is what she does. Yeah. So it's just a way of sharing that.
I also saw that at one point. I don't know if you still have it, but you had, I don't know, a balance beam in your living room. Do you still have that?
Yes, we do. We do. That was a very random thing, but it made a lot of it makes sense once I saw it, and I just thought I want to invite even more sense of play in my family. Yeah, we have a low balance beam at home, and it can be used as furniture. It's very actually quite comfortable to sit on. It brings me
Really?
like a. It is. It's a. What it's it's stool height. So
Yeah.
if you had a table next to it, it could be like a bench that you could scoot on, and it's actually quite comfortable.
Yeah, and
But
functional.
and functional. Yeah, it gives me like a massive dose of nostalgia to the texture. So that's really nice. I love tapping into nostalgic things. Um, yeah, I find something glimmery about that. I'm not sure why. Um, it doesn't come from a place of regret or hurt or anything. It comes just from I had a beautiful childhood, and I haven't sat down to be thankful about it. So I love that part. And I also love industrial things too. So you notice that I like architecture, and I like design. And so it's also tapped into that part. So it sort of ticks so many boxes for me. And having it at home, yeah, it's just an expression. And I think that's the other thing, is that we express ourselves in so many more ways than dance. But dance taught me that I can feel confident in those choices might be random to look at,
Mhm.
like a balance beam that's used as furniture in our home. But I'm confident about it too, because it makes sense for me. It means something to me. So yeah, dance expression has helped me to sort of tap into um, other parts of my life, fashion, the things I like about architecture. Even just choosing where to go, choosing what I want to eat. It actually has helped me see myself in all ways of my life, other than just movement. I think that's actually the biggest takeaway from returning to dance, is like it's helped me to become more aware of the type of parent I am. Even in my professional work as a dentist, I know what my strengths are there, and so
Mhm.
I don't now fall onto a what should I be. I'm actually much more aware to say these are the things I'm good at, and these are the things that make me want to be better in this category of whatever I am. So let's just lean into that more.
So
Um,
how did that occur? What specifically
mm,
occurred during your process of returning to dance? Was there like a light bulb moment, or was
mhm.
it a slow process?
I feel there was a light bulb movement, definitely. I know a lot of people probably think about the lockdown years as a really transitional time, and it's boring, but that's actually the time that I noticed it, and
Mhm.
it had a lot to do with the fact in Australia, Melbourne was actually very strictly locked down, um, rigidly,
Mhm.
and so I there were many people that weren't able to go to work because of uh, rules, government rules. And when I lost my sense of identity as a dentist because I wasn't allowed to go to work, it made me realize I put so much emphasis on that as me,
Mhm.
and I felt lost, actually. I felt like,
Yeah.
actually, if someone's taken away my identity,
Like, who am I right now?
that's it.
Yeah.
Um, so that was at the same time that Galen Hooks offered these online intensives, and I've been a big fan of hers before that, but I've never invested in dance before, or even like returned to it really. So um, the jump to take her intensive was, I am so thankful and grateful that I had the courage to do that, because it was, to me, a big investment in something that's a hobby for me.
Mm.
And also, it was an investment of taking away um, the, the permission I didn't give myself to just do something I wanted to do
Yeah.
outside of my family and my role as how my identity was going at that
Right.
time. So
So was that when you returned to dance?
I had taken classes here and there, and then
Okay.
lockdown, and so then it just started becoming, oh, how can I do things online now? And so yeah, there were a few tutorials at that time too. That I know the dance world was so generous with offering tutorials at that time too. Um, it, yes, it all started to come out.
I
Uh,
feel like it changed how we take class now. Like, there's
definitely,
so many more online dance classes than ever before. And
yes.
there were some beforehand, but after the pandemic, like, there's so many more classes now. And, you know, that time was not a great time, but
It was
there was so much that came out of it.
that was positive. That's right.
Yeah.
That allowed accessibility to people that would never have the ability to access it, which I think, in hindsight, I'm grateful for too. That even all the hardships that came with it and the loss of identity, it allowed, you have to sit in that discomfort to recognize what you need to change to get yourself back. So yes, so Galen Hook's intensive was the first time I allowed myself to freestyle, because before that I was like, don't ask me to do a pose, don't ask me to do a count of 8 from my own mind, but just tell me what to do, give me what lines I have to hit, and I'll practice and rehearse that until it's going to look exactly like the way I think you want me to look.
Right.
Um,
That's the
yeah,
technique part of you. I feel like the
yes,
gymnast part of you. And I relate to that so much just growing up as like a ballet lyrical jazz dancer. And I love all of those styles. But it's hard when it's like you ask me to improv and I'm like, I don't know how to. I didn't know the difference. So I'm excited for what else you're about to say.
so that part freaked me out still for a long time, where she has the choreo part and the freestyle part. And it wasn't until after that that I even gave myself the thought that I actually can try something that's just not a taught class. And I think doing things at home really helps with that, because there is no comparison. There's not a mirror that's reflecting your different angles compared to other students. So actually, that part of it helped me a lot to become the type of dancer that I am now very comfortably. It was completely opposite to how I was in 2020. I was only wanting to do choreo then, and then rehearse and practice, and now I realize that for me to be able to do it when I'm 60 and 70, I need to understand that I need to practice it in a way that's very easy and uh, organic for me, and not put more hardship onto it, not
Not adding
make it more
stress.
difficult. That's right. And it shouldn't be stressful. If it's stressful,
Something's
there's
wrong.
something that's it.
Yeah.
It can be uncomfortable, but it shouldn't be causing you anxiety. Like it can be, oh, that I'm cringe about that. And I think actually the cringe feeling is actually very helpful, because it makes you realize where
You can improve.
exactly, it
Yeah.
makes you realize where you can elevate yourself, but where
Mhm.
you're next ready to change. So it's really important to reach cringe, because then you're about to have a massive change afterwards.
Yeah.
um I don't know if you recall. Sorry, I'm just going to bring this up. We did the Galen Hooks method, the heels one
Oh,
together. I think,
we
yes, was it?
did.
Yes. So
Wait, we
there's
did
been
we did both. We did classic and heels,
classic and
right?
heels. Yes,
Okay, I forgot about the heels. Yeah.
and Galen gave us exactly the same instruction.
God.
You're
Do you
overthinking
remember
it,
what it
guys.
was?
Yes, yes, yes. She said you're overthinking it. She just like you guys are
That
trying too
sounds
hard.
right.
It does sound right, doesn't it? And I felt like, yep, me and Priscilla are the overthinking side.
Overthinkers. Oh yeah,
Yeah.
big
And
time.
then the next time we did it, she said night and day we changed, and so
Yeah.
that just yeah. Sorry, our discussion just reminded me of that. I want to share it.
That's so funny that you remember that. I don't remember that critique specifically, but it checks out for sure. Actually, in one of your captions, I think it was one of your solos for the Galen Hooks method. I think the classic session, and you said literally you were terrified of freestyling. And when I read that, I was like, no way.
Way,
No way. Because so
so
that
much
was
way.
September 2020. But when I watched your videos, I'm like, there's absolutely no way. You were terrified of freestyling.
Terrified. I was absolutely terrified when I was training with the crew. If there was any part of our show that needed freestyling, I would be backing myself out. I wanted to be told exactly what, how to improve. Like, I'd love direction. Give me direction, but don't make
Yeah.
me make choices by myself.
Yeah.
No, terrified. Totally didn't even think dance required me to do that. So, it's been really a really cool journey to come to this point where I know that I can call myself a dancer now because um, you can put me on the spot and I'll be fine still. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I
yeah.
mean, even when I watched that video, I mean, obviously it was very good, but when I watched that video and I scroll up to where you're at now with your improving, I'm like it's insane the difference. I mean, just the growth is insane to witness. And I think it's so cool to see like years worth of change and development too.
Mm, yeah.
To be able to quickly scroll from 2020 to 2025 is pretty crazy. But yeah, you've grown so much and it's so cool to be able to witness that and to see the
Mm,
difference and to know. I mean, I also can relate that I've gained so much from the Galen Hooks method, and it, I would say, has also quite literally changed my life.
change your life.
And I would agree that, like you talked about how dancing at home also played a role in your development as well. And for me, that played a role as well. And I was dancing pretty frequently for like 2 years in a studio setting. And then I moved back to where I'm living now, and there's just not a lot of class offered. So a lot of what I do is at home.
Mm-hmm.
But I realized that just doing my own thing and not focusing on other people has been so beneficial. It's like now, I think there's multiple reasons for this, but now I'm like, I know I believe in my ideas. I know that I'm confident. I don't need other opinions and other people to tell me,
Validate that. Yeah.
yeah, validate.
Yeah.
And it's really nice to hear that other people can relate to that feeling too. And I would say there's probably other people at home who may be like, well, I can't go to class, so like
That's it.
I'm
Yeah.
not a dancer.
Mm,
But I think you're exactly proving them wrong in that way of like, no, you can dance at home and be a dancer and actually maybe grow even more.
more. Yeah.
Then
Yes.
I mean, that could be something to debate. I don't know, but I would say uh, grow even more at home than you would in a classroom, which is so crazy.
It is crazy. I don't undermine that being in class and taking classes is going to give you things that you can't have at home. But it's not to say that if you don't just put on a song that you know you love, that doesn't have to do with whether another person likes it or if it's trending or if it's a certain style. It could be just a song that actually this just makes me want to bop and just go with it.
Yeah.
Just give yourself the space and the time to just I like this and why does it make me want to do this? And then just see where it takes you. If you do that and then you do it every second day. You do it like even once a week. That growth that you see is so organic that it doesn't require you to put that extra effort into seeking out a class and feeling that time constraint of having to wait for the class, and it's just another way of training yourself. So if you supplement it with at home and just throw away the what you're supposed to look like, what you're supposed to dance to, any of the what you're supposed to or should be, and just go
Mm-hmm.
with what song, what, and it doesn't even have to be music. That's the thing. It could just be a sound. It could be
Mm-hmm.
like the static of the something in
For
the
me,
background, and
I like sometimes I hear like the washer machine and I'm like, I was like washing. I'm like moving in
but
the laundry room.
it's things like that.
Yeah.
It just it you came across it. You that your day came across that sound, and if you're a mover, you would actually want to try something to it. I think naturally, I do this at work a lot when like the dentistry is really noisy. There's lots of different noise, and I just imagine like, what does my body want to do when I hear that? And it's just like the curiosity of a dancer, I think,
Yeah.
and it doesn't have to come from a most trending, the latest album that's dropped. I felt like through my 20s and teens, it felt like I had to be on top of that, or
Mm-hmm.
that it wasn't cool if it was like a song from the 80s that's like really sad and mellow. And I just wondered, but that's the songs that I like. That they're the ones that make me go, I want to be on my feet, or don't even have to be on my feet. I just want to react to it. I want to react to it. It like
Mm-hmm.
compels my body to link up to the music and what I hear, and that is okay. So don't wait for a class to tell you that. Uh, it's already in you somewhere, so you just need to let yourself feel it. I think that's what's helped me to understand that learning from home actually can give you so much more, because you're just finding out what you like over and over again. You're practicing. What do you like? What is it today? Today it might be
Mm-hmm.
this. Tomorrow it might be that. Today I might not feel like doing anything, and that is okay too. Like, I
Yeah.
could go for a whole week without doing anything, but what I
Yeah.
realize is I will come back to it. And when I do, there's often like things I've consolidated in that time that I didn't do anything, that then comes out later. I'm like, if I'd just been training all the way through, or training in the I should be training mindset, it probably I wouldn't have got to that same point if I had just rested that week and then, oh, actually I feel like moving. Okay, I have to move now because my body is saying I really want to now, and then just give myself the grace, and don't like guilt myself. Why wasn't I dancing for the whole week? And then what comes out of it is usually something that is totally different and was what my body needed to do.
Yeah. Definitely
Um,
learning to trust yourself. I feel like for so long, I mean, it probably wasn't until after doing the Galen Hooks method intensives that I started to trust myself. But I feel like as gymnasts, as dancers, you tend to grow up in that like stricter environment where like it has to be this way, and
mm,
you're taught like your teachers have the answers. They tell you what to do, and you lose that sense of trust within yourself.
yes, your own intuition about what you need. Yeah,
Yeah, and I
yeah,
noticed that coming out in every part of my life, in my work
yeah.
life and dance, like in a negative
Oh,
way, like in a not good way. It
that's
wasn't going well. I was like, I need other people to tell me the answers. Like I was not a leader. I was a
mm,
follower. And
absolutely. Yeah,
it for a long time I was like, what is my deal? Like what is it, confidence? And like, yeah, I'm sure that was part of it, like the lack thereof. But I think ultimately it was just feeling like I didn't have the answers and other people did. And that's how I
yes,
operated for so long. So I think it's so cool that you are finding like you're trusting yourself in your decision making and your process as a dancer, as a parent, as a dentist, like everything. And it's so funny how doing that in your throughout your life just makes you a better dancer. So you can step away
hmm
from class for like 6 months. I mean, maybe that's long, but that's kind of my experience right now. And come into it and be like, I was better than I was 6 months ago. And how does that
and
make sense? Because I'm barely taking class.
yes, You've come in with, you've worked on different things that is needed, that helps. And I think that that's with everything, you know. When someone's strength, we're not, firstly, we're not on the same track, moving at the same pace. So where if you were two versions of yourself, if you concentrate on one thing, it would be different if you took a rest and then we have other things influence you. You would not be on the same track at the same time still, because you've allowed different parts, necessary parts of you, to get to a better version of yourself. So I think the permission to rest is actually really crucial in any passion that you have. You know, the permission to actually, today is just going to be a day that I don't tap into it. I don't do the I shoulds, because I know this is a long term thing. It's not something that I need to get to by the end of this year, get to anything. I there is no end goal. I just know that I want to be continuing it. So what's the rush in resting for a day? There is no
Yeah.
reason to guilt yourself over that, because you're going to get back onto it. You just know that that's what you're going to do, because you've identified this is who you are.
Yeah.
Um,
That makes me smile so much because I do the same thing and I tell myself that because for so long I was so hard on myself like, "Oh, I need to achieve this thing now and do this thing now." And it's like, "Wait, why? Why do you need it now?" Like this is for me, it's my lifelong process. Like growing as a
mm,
dancer is my
mm-hmm,
lifelong goal and I guess
mm-hmm.
like plan.
Yeah,
No matter what it looks like, no matter if I never
that's
get
it.
paid to dance
Yeah,
or not, like I'm
yeah.
going to continue in this process no matter
Mm-hmm.
what. And would you say many people struggle with that? Like, do you think that I don't know, I just think a lot of dancers don't necessarily think like that, maybe because they're taught like I need to achieve this now, for whatever the reason is. Do you feel like other dancers struggle with that perspective?
I think so. I think if you don't have a long term goal, seeing yourself always trying to, be curious about who you are as a dancer, and you set the more, um, product oriented goals and outcomes, like I auditioned for this gig and I get it and I need to do that. It then becomes that you're chasing something that's just for now, and you can't see past the bit. Okay, if I don't get it, what else can I do with? How does that how does that affect my relationship with dance? Everyone will have the ability to realize at a point where actually not getting something is not the end.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, but you have to get that for yourself. Someone can't tell you it. It's almost like you have to understand that that goal that you had doesn't create that now I've made it situation.
Yeah.
You make it because it's something you've dedicated your, like a long period of time to. Like you don't make it because you've just reached that one milestone and then you never think about it again. Like I don't like that feeling of saying I've achieved something and then I just put it away now and then on to the next thing. That
Mhm.
doesn't sit well with me anymore. Where I think it used to, but it doesn't sit well, because who you are is what you do all the time. It's like
Mhm.
that, you know, your
Not that
integrity is
one
what you do when
thing.
people aren't looking. That's it. That's it. It's not that one thing that you had for a moment is what you put your goal as, and if you don't reach it, then are you just gonna now
Then you're a
not make?
failure.
Yes, but nothing meant anything. No, it's just a point in time, and you still continue being curious. Just continue being curious. Stay curious. You know, just stick with it. And if you're not curious, if it does happen where you don't meet the outcome that you want, it probably just means that you weren't actually that curious about it.
Mm.
Maybe that's actually the point where you change and do something different, because it's full of effort for you to try.
Yeah. That is really great perspective. We feel the same way about that curiosity. And I also think patience is part of that process as well, which is very difficult to have that patience sometimes. But I'm always curious about dance, and that's why it's a lifelong plan. But for some, I think it can be challenging to think that way. Um, and and that's a great point of like maybe and it's okay to not be curious about something and not be curious about dance, but if it gets to a point, whether it's within dance or anything else, if you're getting to a point where you're not remaining curious, then maybe that means there's another direction that may
That's
be
it. Pivot.
better. Yeah, where
Yeah,
you can
yeah,
pivot and find something that piques your curiosity even
yeah.
more.
And it probably will still have your background and your experience as part of what you're pivoting to. Like it's not a dramatic jump out of a completely different into a different pool, but it's just something where you might realize that actually that goal that I had for myself wasn't realistic, and admit it to yourself, and or just admit that this goal that I had was someone else's goal. It was someone else's path, and
Yeah.
I just tricked myself into thinking it should be, excuse me, should be mine as well.
With social media too, is feel like it can be easy to see other people and what they're achieving and think, oh, that's what I want. But sometimes it's hard to know, is that what you really want or is that what other people want? I've felt that myself because I remember when I had returned to dance, I felt like I was like making decisions because that's what everyone else around me was doing. And I was like, I really don't like this. Between, I don't know, the classes I was taking, posting on social media, I felt like I had to do it because everyone else was doing it. And I
Mm-hmm,
never
mm-hmm.
really thought about like why am I actually doing this? And so I took a, like another step back from dance. I still had dance on the forefront of my mind, but took another step back and it was that was a hard time for me then, but looking back I'm like I'm so thankful I kind of took that step back again to really think for myself and be like, okay, what do I want, not what is everyone else around me wanting, what are they doing, and
Yes,
now and then just focusing on myself. And I feel like going on that path has allowed me to grow in more ways than taking all the dance classes, you know. So
that's
it's really
it.
cool to know that you relate to that experience as well.
Definitely, yes. The comparison, it's such a thief. Like it steals away from your natural tapping into yourself. Like we should put blinders on and just go our own path. I think follow, like just be in your own lane,
Yeah.
because that lane is the one for you. That's you knowing yourself, and that's what you have to give to the world. So no one else can do that actually. So just concentrate on that. No one
Do
else can do
you
that for you.
do you have to tell yourself anything now? Like, do you ever get
Mm,
caught where you're like you're comparing yourself to somebody else and you're
yes.
questioning yourself, or are you at a point now where you're so comfortable in yourself that you're it's not
Oh,
something you really deal with anymore?
I think there will always be moments where you have those intrusive thoughts that come back and go, oh, actually, I'm not as comfortable as I feel that my mindset has grown. Like I think that's natural too, to understand that nothing is linear, like equally going up or improving all the time. That there will be troughs, and those moments are moments where you can practice what you have learned to get yourself out of it again. So, dancing at the moment for me is literally when my body needs it, and it's like that at the bar moment for you. It's actually a release. So when I do it, I feel it's actually what my body needs to then uh, detox itself. Yeah. But the times when I have noticed that I fall back into the, oh, but they did it this way, is usually when I'm in a class environment or around people. So um that's why I dance by myself so much. Yep.
Yeah.
And it'll be usually because there's an audience that might see the difference. And so then I just think, hang on a second, is the audience really going to judge us on this? What's the stake here? What is it, a life or death situation? Like what is the, it's so not. So and then I'm probably just putting that standard of judgment on myself. So okay, well, I was a bit off in timing at that moment, but that's that's something that
What's the big deal? Like you can improve on it next time. Yeah. Why are we so hard on ourselves? I feel like
I
as
don't know.
dancers, we are probably harder on ourselves than most people in the world. It is kind of ridiculous. And then when you look at it, it's like, why? Like, it's not that big of a deal. It's
Artificial, isn't
not
it?
life or death.
So
And I've had to
artificial.
tell myself that too. It's like,
Mm-hmm.
why do I care so much about what other people think of me? You know, why do I care so much about being perfect? Why do I care so much about whatever?
Yeah.
Because it's not life or death, you know? But it took me a while to be like, It's okay. But I tell myself now whenever I do get stressed, I'm like, it's fine. The worst thing that
Yeah,
happens is you forget and you move on.
that's it. And just another opportunity to make yourself be okay with that. You know, the more that you do something that's uncomfortable, it just becomes your ability to go to the next moment is faster process. You cope with that better. Um, yeah, there's really nothing that damaging about it at all. If you miss like the whole half of the second half of the choreo, I don't look at you and go, "You're not a dancer." That's not even what I think. So, I don't know. We do put a lot of pressure on ourselves and uh, have to meet certain things artificially for someone else's standard. Where no, no one is judging us the way that we think we're being judged at
Yeah,
all.
totally. I feel
Yeah.
like if anything, at least for me, I'm just like in awe of other people, like watching other people be brave. Because everyone's different and their
Mm-hmm.
experience with dance, and but watching other people step up and maybe they're in a class that they've never been in before, or maybe it's their first class in a very long time, or maybe they're a super advanced dancer and they've been doing this forever. But I feel like I'm always in awe watching other people, and if
Yes.
they forget, I don't remember that. I'm not paying attention. I'm just maybe watching the next person. Um,
Exactly. What I really love seeing, Priscilla, is someone that has very like, new dancers that come in and just give it their all. Like there's something about that that just makes me feel so that that's what I want to tap in. I want to be able to do
yes.
that. And they'll never
Mhm.
if you're I think if you're a trained dancer, you can't remember that because it's been so long since you've had that newness feeling. But I love watching first time dancers like try to figure it out in their body and then like be so free and so um, confident in their in what they can do and just having uh, that inner calm to try it. You know,
Mhm.
that to me is like that's where I want to be at every time in my dance is to have that confidence and that inner calm to just give things a go without having that what should I look like moment. That
Right.
can sometimes it, um, it it's really obvious on my face when I change from that free flow
Oh,
to the
yeah.
I'm
I'm
thinking
guilty of
like
that too.
it's I can it's like you freeze up and your body just can't transition through that uh, subtly. It's like, oh, I'm
Yeah.
in my head. It's
Oh,
so
yeah.
clear.
I can think of a recent situation where I was watching the video back and I was like, "Oh, that is not what I thought my face was doing." Yikes. But I was like clearly just trying to remember the choreography and all that. But I agree. I feel like when I watch other people who maybe don't define themselves as dancers or who are
Mm,
newly into dance and they're so free and just
yeah,
having fun,
yeah.
and it's like that's what I'm striving to be. Just like this carefree
Hmm.
experience that unfortunately when you grow up in dance sometimes you lose that.
Yeah,
And
I think
it's finding your way back to that again. At least for me, that's what my experience has been of returning to dance. Would you agree with
totally.
that?
I want to um, so like you that freedom of that newness. You're right. When you're so technically trained, you almost like, but I should be able to hit that. But I should be able to hold it there. So why aren't I? And then you just keep spiraling down the why I couldn't do it rather than the but what can I do and how can I do it that's authentic to my body right now today because I'm not feeling flexy in my hips today. So let's just admit that. Let's just acknowledge that and figure out a way to make that work for us. Like, that's what I want to do now. It's like if I'm not feeling a groove because it's too intricate, well, break it right down. What's the part that I do know? And then just do the two step or just do the bounce. It's still the essence of it, but it's just in the way that suits you. And I think that's what the beginners can do is that they know actually that's too technical now, but I'm just going to do it the way that I see it and how it feels. And so, yeah, I want to become a dancer that totally can work with all those things.
It sounds like your inner dialogue has also shifted over the years, would you say? Like, I know for me, I was not very kind to myself in the beginning, and then over time, I started to change my inner dialogue. How has your thoughts and the things that you tell yourself, how has that changed over time?
Mm. Um, yeah, definitely. I know that the way that I talk to myself when I'm dancing is very different because I don't look for validation with anyone anymore. So I know that that's really helpful.
I
Um,
feel like that deserves a round of applause. Most people can't say that. You just said that with such confidence, so we know you're not lying.
it's just I don't know who I was waiting for to say you're allowed to call yourself a dancer. Like, why am I waiting for someone else to tell me that? I know how I feel now when I dance, and I can't take that feeling away from myself, let alone wait for someone to tell me, okay, I see you're a dancer. Well, I
Right.
now
Check.
validate that for myself. Yeah, yes, yes. So that's helped. When I go to class now, I'm not going to class to be able to get the six six count, 6/8 count in exact and perform it. But I know that if I do go to a class, it's always just about how does it feel in me and tapping into that beginner way of looking at it. And like if something looks tricky or I'm coming up to a bit where I don't know it for sure, just actually slow it down, reach it, do what I feel at that time because it's still part of the dancing process, and then just keep going with what the feeling of the whole place of the whole combo feels to me. So I think those just little changes in the way that I think about why I'm doing things helps because before it used to be you have failed if you didn't do get it by the hour. It just meant to me like I didn't get it. Everyone else is getting it and I'm not getting it. So what's wrong with me? So and then I just didn't feel good after class. It never felt good. And then I just rehearse it over and over again and think that that was my process. I know that if I do it more and more, it'll be quicker, but the process still isn't as freeing as just saying, I'm going to class because my movement vocab is going to be so much elevated from that. Yeah. I'm going to dance with other energies because actually that helps me be able to pick up things and be inspired by other people's movements. Yeah, that's what a community class jam. I love. So I don't go to classes so much, but I love jam sessions. So where there's someone controlling the music and then freestyle. That to me is one of like the ways that I learn the most
Yeah.
from my environment.
Which is funny because you went from not wanting to freestyle and then now going into jam sessions, which is so cool. And also part of that is like being a part of community, which I feel like
Mm,
is so just wonderful to be a part of as a dancer. And you talked about the importance of knowing your why. And I think we can forget why we dance. And I think for
mm-hmm,
so long, especially because for me, I did it at a young age, continued to do it. It was just part of my life. I didn't really think about why I was doing it anymore. That's what I was doing. And I realized after returning to dance the importance of constantly reminding myself why I'm doing
why?
this. Because if I'm
Yes,
not telling myself that, then then I'm gonna be stressed.
blurry.
I'm
That's
gonna be
right.
comparing myself to everyone else. I'm not gonna be having a fun time and I'm just gonna be there just to be there. And like, there's
Mm-hmm,
no fun in that.
that's
So
right.
I often try to remind myself why I'm doing this. And sometimes your intention can be different from class to class, from day to day. Um,
Mm-hmm,
I think I think that's so cool that you recognize that because I
yeah.
that's what I really want to get across with my podcast is just reminding people why we do this and that your
Mm-hmm,
why can be different and
mm-hmm.
sharing people's why.
That's a really cool, clear intention for your podcast. And I'm so excited to hear all the different whys for people, why they dance and why it's in their life, how it came back. Maybe if it didn't come back, like why they still have the energy and the attraction to it and the motivation to do it. It's so important in everything that we set our minds to is if we're doing it without a why, it's probably because there's a should, and then that should be the red flag. If you're doing it because there's a should, I don't know, it's not really that sustainable. You're going to run into a roadblock somewhere where because you think that you should be doing it, and that trickles through the I should look this way, trickles through the I should wear this when I go to class, trickles through the and then it trickles into your other life. I should be in bed by now. Like little things where you're just not trusting your original reason, and that was enough. The original reason was enough. I identify with it. It gives me meaning. It helps me express. I feel like I'm an expressor. I need to translate my ideas, and it happens to be through movement. And other people might have, it happens to be through writing. It happens to be through so many different ways to do it. And as a dancer, just pinpointing as clearly and as succinctly as you can what the why is, and it's easy. It's almost like your affirmation and your mantra. And then if you lose your path, you just go back to that. So yesterday's failure day actually was, now remember this. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter because this is my vision that I see for myself.
That's a clip right there. I love that. I love that so much. If it's, something that you think you should do, then it might be the wrong thing to do. And I'm gonna like write that down now. I'm gonna use that. Um, so I want to get to a couple more questions that I wanted to ask you. So
Mm-hmm.
I feel like you balance a lot of things really well from my perspective. Of course, I'm not in your day to day life, but you're balancing being a mom, being a wife, being a dancer, being a dentist, having all of these other creative outlets, um, road tripping, going to, visit different places that interest you. How and what's the drawing? You do your drawing, which they're so good, by the way. They're so good. So, how do you balance all of that? Because I can imagine other people being like, "Well, I have a full-time job. I have, children and a family, and I'm doing all of these other things and I want to dance, but I don't have time to dance. How am I supposed to do this?" What's your recommendation based off your experience?
I think definitely I was in that mindset for a long time. Yeah, 10 years ago, for example, there was no drawing. I didn't own a notebook or a pen. I didn't dance. I didn't listen to music. There were so many things that I do now that wasn't part of my life. And nothing was being created. And I felt stuck in in a rut of just should be doing. I should be you know, concentrating on my family. I should be, if I'm not with my family, going to work. I should be, if there were so many things that I was doing because it was what I felt adult or what I felt was requested of me, without ever thinking that I needed to fuel myself. And so once I tapped into that, actually, if I just give myself 10 minutes of the day to do some silly doodling, which to me is, it's funny that you should say that you find it anything, because it just looks so playful and silly to me. Like it looks like a kid's done it. And I used to be cringe about that. It's like, oh my goodness, I'm showing things that, people could draw so much better. And I'm just literally drawing in a way that I see it. And to me, it just like a kid's picked up a pen and drawn it, which it is, because I'm new at it. So I gave myself that grace yet. But it was 10 minutes. Then it started to be, wow, I feel better now. And I'm actually noticing that when I do 10 minutes in a day of just mindless doodling, and it just started with literally like no, nothing abstract things, just lines. Um, it was almost like self meditating. And then I was actually much more patient for the things I had to do outside of my life. I became more patient listening to my kids, and had more time for like deeper conversations, because I gave myself that grace to do something for myself. And so the drawing became then dancing, and then became, actually, so these things are fueling me. What is it that I want to fuel for my family? And these road trips, they fuel us. They make us be okay with the rest of the week when it's routine and monotonous. And just tapping into, it's like those glimmers. Like it's just what naturally am I drawn to do, and do more of that, and not have to have variety about anything.
Just doing something for the sake of doing something.
I, I felt a lot of silliness doing that, actually, like a lot of pointlessness. And I know that there's no product. It didn't feel productive in the sense that I'm creating it for something, but actually the medicinal, the how much it helped me heal whatever I needed to heal is so worth it, even though I'm not gaining anything other than it's like taking a breather. It's like actually stopping and then
That's
just
so funny
taking a
you
few
just said
breaths.
that because that's what I was thinking. I was like taking a breath.
Sometimes we just go, go, go so much that we haven't even had time to sit down and go, okay, so in today's day, what did I do that actually made today be a day that was worth remembering for me? And if there's years of that where you can't even think of a day where you did something that made you feel alive or made you feel like, whoa, I was really myself. And it doesn't, so it might look like a lot, but actually I try to do it in times where it doesn't interrupt my family. Um, so it would just be holding a notebook wherever I go. And then if I have a few moments between seeing patients, I'll just sit down and journal. Or it doesn't have to be. And now I'm going to carve out a big chunk of time to sit down because if you start doing that, which is the same as like going to class, now I have to carve out the commute to it, the restriction of when the class is, where it is, and then the commute back. It's a big chunk of time to allocate to something that you want to do for a long period of time. So if you just do little snippets, it just has to be one song that you like. There's a 5-minute track. That's it for the day, and you've done something for the day. That's for yourself. So you just do that more and more, and then it just becomes something that you do,
And then you end up balancing a lot of different things because you started small with that one thing in the beginning.
that's right. And it's still small, and it doesn't have to be then become like I dance for a whole afternoon and a jam session every 3 nights. Like it doesn't have to be. It doesn't have to be anything. It doesn't have to look any certain way other than that you're reminding to fuel yourself with things that are childlike. Actually, like I think the more you give yourself permission to be as childlike as you can, which like it can be silly. So drawing to me is really silly. It's not to me like fine or refined. It's just a pen, piece of paper, and whatever I see and however that makes me feel. It's really tapping into who's who, what's is inside of me, and then just
Letting that come
letting
out.
it flow out, letting it come out. And I think the suppression of expression, like the suppression of that, is what not chasing the glimmer is. Yeah, chasing the glimmer is finding those things that just it's so effortless because it's already in you and just needs to come out. Whereas if you suppress it, that's I think that's when unease happens in you, and there's always something missing. You're a bit short. You can't like go past conflict easily in your body.
I love that. Have you heard of or read the book Atomic Habits by James Clear?
I've heard of. I haven't read it.
That was a book that I read last year, and I did something similar as to what you said of just starting small with different things, and that's essentially like the what the book talks about is how making something small, like an atom, like starting small and adding to it over time, like you're creating habits, and then creating those habits becomes part of you.
Normalized. Yes, this is
Yes,
where I want dance to become part of my lifestyle. That's the mindset that I have. Is I don't ever want it to be just and then something I have to carve out time for. It's just
it's just
that's what I
part
do.
of your
That's it.
day.
That's it. So on our road trips, there'll be movement somewhere, just because I know that's how it's played out. So the kids know that mum at some point will be just dancing in the woods. They just know that I don't know that it's anything weird for them anymore. And
Yeah,
then
they
they might
probably
join me
love it.
and my hubby, I have to say, he's really really patient too. So he just understands this is how I express, and he's so supportive of it. And it's I think it's healthy to see that. I want that for my parents. It's healthy to see someone want to chase those childish, unproductive things. What do you do for yourself that's not just what everyone else is doing too? What is it just that defines you? Like if my kids can they when they if they describe to me, they'll say for sure I'm a dancer. I'm very clear about that now. They're not going to be like, oh,
Don't
she's just
forget to
mum.
say that when you're
Yeah,
describing
no.
your kids.
But because they can see it, that's why. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's not just she's a person that drives me to school, or
Right.
um,
And that's
yeah.
so important because I feel like as adults, we lose that. I think
Mm,
many adults I've been around, in my lifetime, I mean, even people my own age, like it's just so easy to forget who we are and get caught up in I go to work. I do my laundry. I do these things and just kind of forget about having fun, having that playfulness again. And I think for me, that's probably one of the biggest gifts I've received after returning to dance, learning how to be playful again. And that was something
yes.
that was really hard for me for a long time. And I don't think I could verbalize what it was, but
Hmm.
now on the other side of it, I'm like, oh yeah, there was definitely something lacking there. And sense of wanting to be playful and just have fun. And now that I can do that, I feel like I can express myself more. Like I feel like I'm
Yeah.
just happier and can do something stupid and just not care and like laugh at myself
Yeah.
because who cares? Like it's just not nothing's that serious. So
Yes.
I love that you are incorporating that sense of play throughout your entire life and incorporating it throughout your day and teaching that to your kids as they get older, as they become adults, to never lose that sense of playfulness because
Yes.
it's so important to have that.
We all have it though. We all had it. We all still have it, but we just don't give ourselves like the option to practice it or to tap into it. And I'm not sure why now. I've got to a point where it's like, but why aren't we all finding that for ourselves?
Right. I think it's like what you were describing of when you go on road trips with your family and your kids know that you're going to find a spot in improv. I think that's, and I could be wrong, but I feel like that's an experience that's very rare. Like as a family and for kids to witness their parent doing something like that,
Uh,
specifically dancing. And again, I could be wrong, and that's just my own assumption, but I hope that that's something that we see more of in our lives. And I think with social media too, we talked about a little bit of the cons and the pros, but a pro to having social media and sharing dance and sharing you improving in the woods with your family, that can impact somebody else watching and being like, oh, I can do that too. I want to have that
oh,
sense of playfulness.
the reason we want to share it is because we know that if someone out there just needs that little nudge or that little push, if I could help them to gain this much wealth in their joy, please let me be that person to be able to do that from something silly that I've done. Like, please let my silliness be seen so that someone out there that feels they don't have the permission to do it because it's too silly is in their mind, that they can see, actually, no, this is doable and there's so much more benefit from me doing that. That's what I want, like to leave that big imparting message that it's doable if you want to, if you're curious about that, if you want your road trips to have an element of that. uh, it doesn't, it's not like a prescribed thing, but you can just tap into something that you like, and your kids will see it and they're only going to see like a more fully expressed version of yourself.
Another question I wanted to ask you was if you could look back at yourself, and I'll let you pick the timeline of this, but if you looked back at yourself, what advice would you tell yourself knowing what you know now as the
Mm,
current Susana?
that's I've not thought this deeply in conversations with myself, but I'm going to just describe what it is I'm talking about. So, as a dentist, um, I know that my parents had a big say in me tapping into that industry. I know that as a 5 year old, I never dreamt of doing it. So, it is very contrived for me to say that I've always dreamed of being a dentist, because that's not the truth. Okay, so I know parents do have the influence of uh, what they'd like you to become, from a position of that they want you to have a secure and a safe and an easy and a comfortable life, but have the courage to question that and to say, sort of, was this something that I wanted for myself? And if it isn't, how can I make it so that it's something that sits and aligns with what I actually want for myself? Because at the end of the day, I'm living with this decision. At the end of the day, the choices I make for my life is, I'm not going to please someone else, whether I please my parents or not, or they validate the choices I make. It's still my life.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I think that my younger self would just say, yeah, have the courage to ask yourself, what do you want, Susana? What is it that you want? And then create that life for yourself, and not because someone else wanted that for me, and so I really valued what they wanted, and that's such a weak like a weak why. The why is so not strong. So then there'll become a point where you're like, my identity is not that, because it actually was, I was doing it for someone else.
Yeah.
Does that?
I think a lot of people can relate to that for sure.
Mm,
And the
yeah.
some of the podcasts I listen to, that's a topic that they talk about as well. Like at the end of the day, you're living your own life and you want to be happy with that. And of course, it's important to take into consideration what your parents say. And most of the time, your parents are telling you what they're telling you because they care about you and they love
Yes.
you. And I think people forget that sometimes too. Um, and so it's always most of the time with good intention, but at the end of the day, you're the one living out your life and you know what's best for you. And and I think no matter what age you're at, that's something that you can always think about, whether you're 10 years old, 20 years old, or later in life. So I love that you said that because I think many people can relate to that. And definitely dancers or younger people who are trying to figure out their way in life. I wish that was something that I was told. And maybe I was told that when I was younger. I don't know. But I feel like that's really good advice. We talked a lot about like your why. Why do you dance? Why do you make the decisions that you make? Because this podcast is called the Decision to Dance podcast, I want to end with asking you, Susana, why do you dance?
I dance because it fulfills me, and I feel the expression needs to come away. So, as a movement expressor, I feel it's actually my natural way to communicate. So, I dance because it heals me, it energizes me, and it gets me closer to knowing myself. When I dance and I come out of a session of a free flow freestyle session with myself, on the other side of it is just that knowing of myself a lot more. And that's what I want to continue doing in all parts of my life. But dance helps me to get there actually the easiest. So that's the reason for me deciding to dance and deciding to want to have it as part of my life as easily, as effortlessly as possible, to just ingrain it into my lifestyle so that I can confidently have it as a way to communicate with others and with myself.
Thank you so much for everyone who decided to listen today. I think this was a wonderful introduction to our podcast and what we are hoping to achieve through interviewing various dancers with different backgrounds and different age groups, different interests and levels within dance. And I'm so excited to continue sharing more of these wonderful people and dancers with all of you. If you found this episode interesting and if it's something that you want to learn more about, feel free to give us a follow and subscribe. That way you can keep up with our episodes every time we release them and you won't miss a single one. And if you thought of a friend, if a friend came to your mind as you were listening to this episode, make sure to share it with them, because that's the purpose of this, is to get the word out and share these episodes with people that can relate to the topics we are discussing. So if there was someone that came to your mind while you were listening, make sure to send this to them. I think it would really make an impact on their day. So thank you again for listening, and we will see you all at the next episode.